Poor girl marries disabled stranger for her mom, but he's actually a billionaire CEO in disguise. She didn't marry for love. She married for a hospital bed, a whispered promise, a mother's final chance. He was cold, silent, a man who never stood to greet her. And yet, in the quiet, he watched her. In the dark, he covered her shoulders. In the storm, he stood not because he had to, but because he couldn't let her walk alone. And some people say love is soft. But sometimes, love is steel forged in silence, revealed when the world turns away. And when the truth came out, it shattered everything, except her faith in the man she never really knew. She didn't remember signing the contract. Not really. Just the pen slipping in her trembling hand, and the sound of the rain. And the oxygen machine behind her mother's bed, counting time in hisses and clicks. Your mother's treatment starts Monday, the lawyer had said, adjusting his cufflinks like it was any other day. As long as you fulfill your side of the arrangement. Maya had nodded. She didn't ask for more. Didn't ask why a billionaire in a wheelchair would agree to marry the daughter of a man he hated. 'Cause the truth was simple. Her mother was dying. And this was the price. That night, when she got home, her father didn't speak. Just handed her a bridal gown in a plastic bag and walked out. She stood in the doorway long after he'd gone, dress pressed to her chest, like maybe it could fill the spaces where love had never grown. The wedding was the next morning. It wasn't even in a church. Just a city office and a signature. He didn't look at her when they said the vows. Didn't hold her hand. He sat still in his chair, suit crisp, eyes like ice, and said, "I do," like he was reciting a business report. And when they left, it was in silence. The kind that isn't empty, but filled with the weight of everything unspoken. The Langston estate was too quiet. The staff bowed, the doors opened, the rain kept falling. "You'll stay in the West Wing," the butler had said. "The master prefers distance." Maya nodded. Her feet felt numb. She didn't see Ethan again until dinner. And even then he said nothing. The room was marble and cold. The silverware too polished. The food untouched. She tried to break the silence. "I can learn," she whispered, cutting her steak the wrong way. "I know I don't belong here, but I can try." "You're holding the knife incorrectly," he said. Flat. Without cruelty. Without anything at all. Her hands shook. "Does it matter?" she said. "I'm only here because—" He looked up then. "Exactly," he said. "So don't pretend this is anything more." Later that night, she stood in the hallway outside his room. He hadn't locked the door. But she didn't enter. She didn't want pity. And he didn't offer warmth. It was the perfect deal, two broken people pretending they were whole. But that night, as she lay awake in the guest bed, she heard a door open. Soft footsteps. A coat draped over her blanket, still warm. She didn't move, didn't cry, but for the first time in days, she slept. Somewhere in the mansion, behind closed doors, Ethan sat in his study, watching her on the screen. Silent, windy voice, unmoving, until she reached up in her sleep and pulled the coat tighter around her shoulders. Only then did he let out the breath he'd been holding for years. The marriage she didn't choose. It rained the morning they signed the papers. Not a gentle drizzle, a relentless gray downpour that soaked through shoes and coats, that turned sidewalks into rivers and the courthouse steps into... She clutched a plastic folder to her chest. Inside were her mother's discharge documents, a note from the hospital, and the last letter she'd written to Ethan Langston's legal team. "I'll marry to the terms. I'll marry him. Please just help my mother." No white dress, no flowers, just a damp blazer borrowed from her boss at the diner, and heels that blistered on the walk from the bus stop. The courthouse clerk didn't look up as Maya stepped in. "Legal marriage docket? Langston." A man stood up, Late 30s, tailored charcoal suit, leather gloves. And a chair, silent, sleek, motorized. He rolled forward without urgency, without greeting. His eyes scanned her like a ledger, blue-gray, quiet. Than Langston. In person, he was somehow colder than she'd imagined. "You're late," he said simply. "We had 10 a.m. "I walked," she replied, voice stiff. He didn't answer. She didn't expect him to. The ceremony was held in a side room, plain white walls, a foldable table, a laminated American flag drooping on its pole. The justice of the peace mumbled through the reading. Ethan signed first, with calm, practiced hands. Then Maya. Her fingers trembled, her heart screaming no, but her mind repeating her mother's name like a prayer. "You're not marrying a man," she told herself. "You're buying time. By the power vested in me." The words floated, hollow. "You may now." The judge looked between them, uncertain. Ethan offered no motion. Maya didn't move either. The judge skipped ahead. "Congratulations, you're legally wed." They left the building in silence. A black car was waiting. A driver opened the door. Maya hesitated before sliding in. She glanced at Ethan. His eyes were on his phone, not on her. Inside the car, leather seats. No music, no warmth. She spoke first. "You didn't have to do this," she said quietly. "You could have just paid my mother's bills without." "I don't do charity," he replied. She blinked. "Then why me?" He looked at her then, just for a second, and something flickered behind his cold exterior. Something unreadable. "I had a promise to keep. Nothing more." The Langston estate rose like a stone fortress outside the city. Ivy-covered, windowed-in, black steel. The rain made it look like something out of a noir film. Inside, warm lights, marble floors. Too clean, too perfect. "Mrs. Langston," a housekeeper greeted with a bow. Maya froze. She wasn't used to being called anything but Miss Jensen, or worse, "Hey girl," at the diner. The woman gestured. Maya followed her through polished halls. She expected Ethan to come with them, to show her the room, to at least say something. But when she turned, he was already gone. The guest room was larger than her entire apartment growing up. Floor-to-ceiling windows, a California king bed, a wardrobe full of untouched dresses still tagged. "This is my room?" Maya asked, uncertain. "It's my mom." "Where's his?" The housekeeper paused. "The master sleeps in the east wing." "Separate rooms?" "Okay, Maya exhaled, a small relief. At least she wouldn't have to pretend. She sank onto the bed, her hands. "It's just for 1 year," she reminded herself. "Say, Mom? Get out. Start over." But her chest ached with a loneliness no contract could define. Dinner was at 7:00. She dressed in a navy blouse, one of the few things she owned that wasn't secondhand. Her fingers brushed over the tiny phrase in the collar before she stepped into the dining room. Ethan was already there, seated at the long table's head, a spread of food between them, untouched. Maya took her place 2 seats down. 10 minutes passed. She finally cleared her throat. "So, what now?" Ethan looked up. "We follow the terms, appear together in public once a month, family dinners as scheduled, and stay out of each other's way." "I meant about my mother." "She was transferred this morning to Langston Medical under full care. All costs covered. You'll receive regular updates." Maya's throat tightened. "Thank you." He didn't respond, just returned to his phone. When the butler served roast lamb and potatoes, Maya reached for the knife. She used her left hand. Ethan glanced up. "That's incorrect." "Your grip. It's wrong." Maya stared at her hand. "I eat this way because my left is stronger." "But that's not the point. In public, it'll make you look unrefined." She set the knife down. The shame rose in her like heat. "Are you always like this?" she asked softly. "Like what?" "Cold, calculated, critical." Ethan didn't blink. "Only with people who pretend we're something we're not." Maya pushed her chair back. "Then maybe next time, marry someone who cares." She walked out. Behind her, Ethan said nothing. But when the butler tried to clear her plate, Ethan stopped him. "Leave it," he said quietly. And for a moment he stared at the empty seat across from him, like... Chapter 2. The Room Without a Bed. Maya didn't sleep that night. She lay on top of the covers, still fully dressed, the blue blouse wrinkled beneath her as the rain tapped endlessly against the window pane. The house was too quiet, too curated. It smelled faintly of citrus and linen, not lived-in warmth, just money and distance. Every corner of the estate was beautiful, and every inch of it reminded her, "You don't belong here." She got up around midnight and padded barefoot down the hall. The marble was cold beneath her feet, the chandelier above dimmed to its nighttime glow. She passed Ethan's wing once, then again. The third time she hesitated. His door was ajar. She didn't mean to look in, but something about the light, the low sound of classical piano playing from somewhere inside, made her pause. The room was massive, but not lavish. A wall of monitors blinked softly across one side. Security feeds, data charts, hospital updates. And there he was. Not in bed. Not asleep. But seated in a leather chair, scrolling through medical reports like it was morning already. His back was to her. He didn't notice her. And for the first time, she realized, he sleeps in here, not in his bed. It hit her then. There wasn't one. Back in her room, Maya stood at the window and watched the storm break. Lightning flashed across the sky, and for a second she saw her own reflection in the glass. Pale, hollow-eyed, alone. She thought about her mother in a hospital bed across town. She thought about the ring on her finger that still felt foreign. She thought about how Ethan hadn't once looked at her like she was human, only like she was part of a contract. A transaction. Nothing more. And yet, he'd remembered to cover her in the night. He'd called her Mrs. Langston in front of strangers. He'd paid for every breath her mother still took. Why? The next morning she awoke to the smell of coffee. A tray had been brought in while she slept. Croissants. Fruit. A silver carafe of something hot. There was no note. No apology. Just small, folded paper beneath her coffee cup. A schedule. 3 charity events, 1 Langston Gala, 2 family dinners. All requiring public appearances as Mr. and Mrs. Langston. A handwritten note beneath. Wear navy or gray. You photograph best in those colors. Aaliyah walked out. She almost laughed. Not good morning. Not thank you for last night. Just styling advice. Later that afternoon, she wandered into the library. Rows of old books, artifacts that looked like they belonged in museums. She traced a leather-bound volume with her fingers. A voice said behind her. She turned. Ethan was there, still in his chair, still unreadable. When she finished eating, she said, folding her arms, "When I'm not being assigned a color palette." He almost smirked. "Oh, you asked why I married you," he said after a pause. "I figured you wouldn't answer." "I will now." She blinked. He rolled forward slowly, stopping just short of her. "I needed a wife," he said simply. "My grandfather's will made that clear." "I was. What? Convenient?" "No, you were public. Your father made a scene. It attracted attention." Maya's jaw tightened. "So, I was a publicity shield." "Now," he said, "you were honest. Desperate, but honest. You didn't pretend to love me. That's rare in this house." She stared at him. "That's your standard for a life partner. Not pretending?" He looked away. "Standard for survival." She walked past him, and turned. Is that why you sleep in your study? He didn't answer. There's no bed in there, she continued. Just machines, screens, numbers. Still no answer. And to sleep. A long pause. Only when I can help it. She swallowed. Because of the accident? His eyes flicked to hers, sharp, blue steel. And in that split second, something cracked. Not wide, just enough to see behind the curtain. I don't dream well, he said quietly. Then wheeled away. At that evening, she skipped dinner. She told the staff she wasn't hungry. It wasn't a lie. She sat on the floor of her closet, knees pulled to her chest, staring at the wedding ring on her finger. It didn't fit. Not just the size, the weight of it. She remembered the way her father had smirked when she signed the marriage license. Don't look so surprised, Maya. You were always born for this. To be traded. She'd spent her whole life trying to prove she was more than someone's collateral. And now she was a wife to a man who didn't want her, but wouldn't let her leave. Not because he cared. Because she was useful. A knock came at the door. Maya? It was a staff member. Mr. Langston asked that you meet him in the conservatory. She wiped her face quickly. Why? You said you'd ask that. The staffer handed her a small white envelope. She opened it. Inside, a single card with handwriting in black ink. Because not all rooms in this house are meant to feel like prisons. She stared at it, then stood. The conservatory was glass-walled, overgrown with climbing vines and blooming lilies. It smelled like jasmine and spring rain. Ethan was there, seated beside the grand piano. He didn't speak when she entered, just nodded toward the chair beside him. As she sat, he reached into his coat pocket and handed her something. A brass key. The room next to mine, he said. She looked at him. Then why is she here? I asked. Then stay where you are, or leave. No one will stop you. She turned the key in her hand. It was warm. Now, she asked. Because I remembered something, he said. Something important. She waited. I remembered that contracts don't stop people from being lonely. He wheeled out, left her there. And she didn't follow. Her eyes widened as not right away. She sat in the quiet, surrounded by glass and green and the weight of something unfamiliar growing in her chest. Not trust, not love, but the first fragile edge of understanding. And maybe that was where everything would begin. Chapter 3. The Dinner That Cut Her. The invitation came in a cream envelope sealed with wax. Maya turned it over in her hands as if it might say something more. But all it read was, Foundation Winter Gala. Saturday, 7 p.m. in Hotel Chicago. A note was clipped to it in Ethan's careful black print. Her navy. That was it. No smile. No looking forward to it. Just an order, as cold as the marble hallways they passed, like strangers every day. She almost didn't go. But then she thought of her mother's quiet breaths through a ventilator, of how silence had always been Ethan Langston's sharpest blade, and how showing up, looking stronger than she felt, would cut him deeper than walking away ever could. The dress was midnight blue, silk. Off the shoulder, someone had left it on her bed with shoes to match and a necklace that shimmered like frost. When she stepped into the hotel ballroom, no one saw a girl from the south side of Chicago with a duffel bag and a past. But they saw Mrs. Langston. And for once, Maya let them. The room swam with billion-dollar smiles and $100,000 secrets. Crystal chandeliers, live cello quartet, tables set with gold-rimmed plates Maya wouldn't dare touch. Ethan was already there. He turned the moment she walked in and paused. Drew a breath. Maybe two. It was so fast, most people wouldn't have noticed it. But Maya did. because she'd been watching him longer than he knew. He extended his hand. "Shall we?" She took it. His palm was warm, surprising. So was the way his fingers stayed against hers longer than necessary. Dinner was a performance. For him anyway. He made speeches, toasted donors, answered questions with the careful polish of a man who'd rehearsed every lie until it became indistinguishable from truth. Maya sat beside him, nodding when prompted, smiling when she felt the sting of someone's judgment. They whispered around her, the rich women with their glassy eyes and sharp nails. "Once the girl he married?" She looked ordinary. "I heard she used to be a waitress. Can you imagine?" She heard every word. She just didn't flinch. Till the dessert course. Mrs. Langston, one of the older women, cooed, her smile brittle. "May I ask, where did you study?" Maya blinked. "Study or education? You must have a background in finance, surely, to keep up with Ethan?" The table chuckled, but it wasn't warm. Maya took a breath. "I didn't attend college." A pause. Then a sharp, saccharine laugh. "Of course not. I mean, not everyone needs to." The woman trailed off, eyes flicking to Ethan for support. He said nothing. No correction, no shield, no glance. Just another sip of wine. Maya placed her napkin down, excused herself, walked, not out of the building but to the far side of the ballroom, where the windows arched toward Lake Michigan, the snow outside layering the city in frost. She pressed her forehead to the glass. That she had never belonged here. Not in this dress. It's not beside that man. Not in a family where money could buy everything but decency. She didn't notice Ethan had followed her until she saw his reflection beside hers in the window. "You didn't defend me," she said quietly. "I didn't realize I needed to." She turned to him, eyes flashing. "You watched them laugh at me. We were testing you. You passed." Maya's mouth fell open. "Testing me?" He met her eyes, and, for once, there was no steel, no mask. It's only something raw. "I've brought women to events like this before. Most of them folded." "I'm not most women, Ethan." "I know," he said simply. "That's why you're standing here, and they're all still at the table." Her throat tightened. "Why didn't you just marry one of them?" "Because I didn't want a woman who needed to be protected from the room," he said. "I wanted someone who could walk into it and survive it." Maya swallowed. What do you need protection from?" He looked down. His voice softened, believing I'm still human. They didn't speak again for the rest of the night. But when they returned to the estate, a new dress was waiting on her bed. Deep emerald, floor-length hand-stitched. No note. Just a tiny tag that read, "Jin Custom Fit." And for the first time, she didn't feel balked. He felt seen. Chapter 4. The necklace she gave away. The letter came in a brown envelope, creased at the corners and smelling faintly of cigarettes. From Paul Jensen. And subject, urgent. Your mother. Maya read it 3 times before she moved. She didn't call Ethan. Didn't ask permission. She just left, took the train west, past the city skyline and its glittering glass towers, and into the aging skeleton of her childhood. The Jensen house looked the same. Peeling paint, a dent in the mailbox from a fight no one talked about. The porch light flickered, like it had since she was 13. Inside, the air smelled like old smoke and fried eggs. Her father sat at the kitchen table, stubbed out cigarettes crowding an ashtray. "You came," he said. "I always come," Maya replied. He didn't offer her a seat. "She needs another treatment," he said. "That fancy hospital of yours, they're asking about insurance, about coverage gaps." Maya's throat tightened. "They shouldn't be," Ethan Mr. Langston said. Her father slammed a folder onto the table. Well, Mr. Langston must have missed something. Maya stared at the numbers. A gap, not huge, but enough. And her mother didn't have time for paperwork delays. Her father leaned back, smirking. I could handle it, for a price. What kind of price? His eyes flicked down. To her neck. The one you wore in the paper. Maya's hand flew to it. An iridescent teardrop gem Ethan had clipped around her throat before the Langston Gala. His only gift with no strings attached. No note, no instruction, just... That's not mine to give, she said. Looks like it's yours to wear. She hesitated. This is low, even for you, she whispered. Nice low, sweetheart. I taught you that. Maya stood to leave, then stopped. Her mother's face flashed before her, pale in the hospital bed, her hand twitching in a seizure last winter. She unclasped the necklace, held it out. I want a receipt, she said, in case you pawn it. She didn't look back. Didn't cry on the train. But by the time she reached the Langston estate, the guilt was thick in her lungs. Ethan wasn't in the study. Not in the conservatory either. She found him in the greenhouse, sleeves rolled, trimming a cluster of white orchids. He looked up once, then back down.
You left, he said. There was a family issue. You didn't inform me. I didn't think I needed to report my movements. Then, without looking at her, you're not wearing the necklace. She froze. I had to trade it, she admitted. His scissors paused mid-cut. My mother's treatment, there was a billing issue. My father offered help, but he wanted something in return. You gave it to him. She nodded. Ethan didn't speak for a long time. Then, I gave you that necklace because it wasn't something to be earned or worn for image. It was a gift. Mine. I know, Maya whispered. And I didn't want to let it go, but I had to choose. He set the scissors down, walked, wheeled past her, paused at the door. You always choose everyone but yourself. And then he left. That night, Maya sat at the edge of her bed and replayed the moment in the greenhouse. The stillness in his voice, the hurt in his silence. She didn't know why it mattered so much, why losing his approval felt like losing something far older. Maybe because, for once, someone had given her something without a price, and she'd let it slip through her fingers. The next morning, a velvet box appeared outside her door, inside a necklace. Not the same. This one was smaller, less expensive, no gem, just a delicate gold chain with a single word engraved on a tiny plate. No note. But when she opened her closet, the gown from their first event had been pressed and returned. Clean, unwrinkled, waiting. That night, she wore the new necklace. And for the first time, when Ethan passed her in the hallway, he didn't just nod. He said her name. Softly. Good night, Maya. She didn't answer right away. Then, good night, Ethan. It wasn't much, but it was more than a contract.
Chapter 5. The Woman Who Claimed His Child. It started with laughter. Not the cold, polite kind that floated through Langston's halls, but a real one. Sharp, flirtatious, unmistakably female. Maya paused at the top of the staircase, her fingers tightening on the rail. She hadn't heard that sound since she moved in. The voice followed, light, honeyed, practiced. Oh, Ethan, you haven't changed at all. The name landed like ice water, and she followed the sound. In the drawing room stood a woman with hair like champagne and heels that clicked like confidence. And she was perched on the edge of the settee, too close, too familiar, while Ethan stood stiff by the fireplace. He hadn't seen Maya yet. I didn't know you were entertaining, Maya said, voice even. All heads turned. Ethan's eyes flicked to her, alert, guarded. The woman smiled wide, white, dangerous. "You must be the new wife." Maya extended a hand. "Maya Langston." "Olivia started," the woman said, not taking it. "We don't need last names. I'm Lynn Carlisle. I used to be close with Ethan." Maya turned to Ethan. "Is this true?" "I haven't seen her in 3 years," he said. Olivia's eyes widened. Lynn chimed in, laying a manicured hand over her stomach. "I'm afraid I didn't come back empty." Maya felt it before she heard it. The shift. The dread. "I'm pregnant," Lynn said, "and the child is Ethan's." Silence. Maya's ears rang. Ethan didn't move. He didn't deny it. And that more than the words broke something inside her. "You've got to be kidding me," Maya whispered. "I wish I were," Lynn said with a sigh, "but it's real, and it's happening." Maya didn't wait for more. She turned, walked out, and didn't stop until she reached the conservatory, where she could breathe. He came to her that night. The door was closed. She didn't open it. But his voice came through. "Olivia Lynn, I didn't touch her. I haven't seen her since before the accident. She's here to stir chaos." More silence.
She's trying to break this. Maya opened the door just enough to see him. "Break what?" she asked quietly. "Our contract?" His eyes met hers. "No," he said. "Whatever this is now." She didn't reply. She closed the door again, but she didn't like it. The next day, Mayer received a medical report from Ethan's assistant. It showed timelines, blood work inconsistencies, a paternity test request Ethan had filed behind closed doors. But Lynn wasn't leaving. She stayed at the estate for health monitoring, she claimed. Maya endured her every smug smile, every veiled comment, every hallway ambush, until the night Maya came down to the kitchen for tea and found Ethan and Lynn alone in the breakfast nook, candlelight flickering. She didn't hear the conversation. She just saw Lynn reach out and Ethan not pull away fast enough. Maya didn't scream. She walked upstairs, calm, measured, packed one small bag, took off the necklace he gave her, left it on the nightstand, and vanished before dawn. She didn't go far, just into the city to a small apartment she'd rented under a different name years ago for emergencies. She didn't know if this was love, but it felt like heartbreak. And that was enough. 2 nights later, a knock. She didn't answer. But when she checked the hallway later, a box sat at the door. Inside, the original necklace he gave her, restored, a letter, handwritten. I can't force you to believe me, but I can fight for the right to earn back your trust. Lynn's child is not mine. She's not carrying anyone's child. The scans were fake, her story orchestrated. I found the clinic, it's gone now. She's gone too. But you're still real to me. I'm home when you're ready. Not for the contract, for us. Ugh. She cried for the first time in weeks. Not because he'd lied, but because he hadn't.
Chapter 6. The divorce she demanded. The necklace stayed in her palm for a long time, even after she finished the letter, even after her tea went cold, even after dawn lit the edges of the blinds in that tiny Chicago apartment. And she wanted to throw it, wanted to scream. But instead, Maya folded the letter, slid it back into the box, and whispered something she hadn't let herself believe in days. Maybe he was telling the truth. When she returned to the Langston estate, the staff greeted her like a ghost. No one asked questions. The air smelled of lemon polish and tension. She could feel it, the way the house held its breath. Ethan was in the solarium. He looked up the moment she stepped in. Not with surprise, but with something heavier. Relief, fear, hope, maybe. She didn't give him time to speak. "I'm not here to stay," she said. Her voice didn't shake. He stood fully upright now, a cane in his hand, bracing himself. "Maya, I want a divorce." He didn't flinch, didn't beg. He just nodded, slowly, and gestured to the chair across from him. "Okay," he said, "let's talk about it." She didn't sit. "You lied. Maybe not about Lynn, but about everything else. About your accident, about who you are, what you are." "I never lied," he said quietly. "I just didn't explain." "The same thing." Nambarbalo nodded. He said, meeting her eyes, "It's not." She walked to the fireplace, fingers brushing the stone. "You told me you couldn't walk." "I said I didn't. Not that I couldn't. You let me believe that was permanent." "I let you see me the way everyone else did," he said, "because I needed to know if you'd stay without knowing the full story."
Maya turned. "And what is the full story, Ethan?" He looked down at the cane, then back up at her. "I was hurt, but not broken. The chair became a shield, and after a while, I forgot how to exist outside it." I said nothing, just stared. "I want you to hate me less," he said finally. "I don't hate you," she whispered. "I think that's worse," he replied, voice hollow, "because it means I mattered." But she didn't deny it. Instead, she walked out. That night, Maya sat in her bedroom staring at the suitcase she hadn't unpacked. The ring still clung to her finger. She didn't know why she hadn't taken it off. Maybe because she was still waiting for something, some answer, some apology that would undo the months of confusion and ache. But no apology came. There was a knock. She saw as she opened the door. Ethan stood there, no cane, just him. "I signed the papers," he said, holding them out. She didn't take them. "I won't contest anything," he added. "You'll be free." Maya stared at him, then at the folder, then closed the door without a word. She slept with the light on. And in the morning, the divorce papers were gone from the floor outside her room. In their place, a single flower, white orchid, the same kind she once found him tending in the greenhouse. No note, just petals. Later that week, the Langston Foundation hosted another event. He didn't attend, but she watched the footage online. Ethan stood at the podium, looking immaculate. When asked why he hadn't brought his wife, he said, "Only." She asked for space. I'm giving it to her. And that was when Maya knew. He wasn't fighting her anymore because he'd already chosen her. Now he was waiting for her to choose him back. That night, she walked to his study. He was there, lights dim, music low. She didn't say anything, just stood in the doorway. He didn't look up. He said quietly, "Are you here to take back the ring?" She stepped in. "And why?" She paused. Then, to rewrite the terms. He turned. Hope flickered like a candle behind his eyes. "Think what terms?" She walked to him, slowly, heartbeat deafening. "No more contracts," she said. "No more pretending. If we stay married, it's because we want to." He swallowed hard, and Maya nodded. "I think I always did." He didn't kiss her. Not yet. But he reached for her hand, and this time, she didn't pull away.
The truth about the car crash, the woman with the dog, the truth about the car. The door had always been locked, not just locked, secured. Biometric scam. Voice ID. No one, not even his assistant, went near it. But that night, after Maya said she wanted to rewrite the terms, Ethan handed her a keycard. No words. Just a glance. An invitation. She stood in front of the steel-paneled door in the east wing, heart pounding. A second of silence passed. Then she pressed the card. The lock clicked. Inside, it wasn't what she expected. No luxury, no show, no curated wealth. Just glass walls, lined with monitors, old newspapers, medical files, and in the center, a table covered in photographs. Her breath caught. Each one showed Ethan in a hospital bed. Some with casts, others with wires running from his chest. In all of them, his eyes were... He was thinner then, paler, someone who didn't care whether he came back from what had happened. Maya reached for the closest file. Her name was on the tab. She opened it. Inside, a report, timeline, personal history, medical records. Her mother's too, all documented, all current. And she felt a shiver slide down her spine. "You were tracking me?" From the shadows, Ethan's voice came low. "I was watching over you." He stepped forward, barefoot, sleeves rolled, eyes tired. Maya didn't move. He didn't get too close. Instead, he gestured to a file on the wall, marked Dexter Tremor, Deputy Assistant Chief of the Allegations Office Dog. "You said you wanted the full truth," he said. "Where it starts," Olivia whispered. "Alone?" She opened it slowly. Inside, a wreckage photo, his car, crushed against a bridge rail, black ice, fatal conditions. Except, the second photo showed tire tracks that didn't match Ethan's car. And then the report, filed and buried. A witness statement. Another vehicle forced the collision. "Someone ran you off the road?" Maya asked. Ethan nodded. "I was unconscious for 16 days. When I woke up, I couldn't feel my legs. The doctor said it was neurological trauma-induced paralysis. Reversible, maybe. Maya stayed in the chair. I needed to know who wanted me dead." Maya's heart thudded. "You think it was someone inside your family?" "I know it was." He walked to the center console, tapped a button. A video played, grainy, from a parking garage. A man in a hood speaking with someone in a black coat. Ethan froze the image, zoomed in. Maya inhaled. It was his cousin Kellen. "We needed me out of the way," Ethan said. "He wanted the CEO seat, the inheritance, everything." "To the police. We're paid off. Kellen had leverage, but I had patience." He pointed to a monitor. "A private account offshore. Transactions linked to the man who confessed to driving me off the road. But the money came from Kellen." Ethan nodded. "The only reason I'm not pressing charges is because I'm building something bigger." Maya stepped back, overwhelmed. "And this time, you let the world believe you were powerless." He looked at her. "I was, until now." They stood in silence. Maya turned the pages of the file, each one more damning than the last. She looked up. "Why would I show me this now?" Ethan's jaw tensed. "Because you asked for honesty." She moved toward him. What do you want from me?" He paused, then said with a voice that didn't waver. "Not protection, not loyalty, just a place where I can be real." She touched his hand. "You already have it." That night, they didn't speak much. But when Maya left the office, she looked back at Ethan one last time. And in his eyes, not ice. Gratitude. Something that might have been peace. Chapter 8. The Confession She Never Expected. The orchid garden was Maya's favorite place in the entire estate. At sunrise, dew clung to the petals like tiny diamonds, and the whole world smelled like something blooming after being buried. She was sitting on the bench there alone when the housekeeper approached quietly. "Miss Maya," she said, "the matriarch has requested your presence." Maya turned. "Ethan's grandmother?" She said, "It's time." The drawing room was soaked in old money and older memories. Old framed paintings, ivory figurines, a fire that never seemed to go out, even in summer. Eleanor Langston sat near the hearth, sharp-eyed, regal, wrapped in a wine-colored shawl she wore like a crown. "You came," she said, voice rasping but firm. "I didn't realize it was optional," Maya replied, keeping her chin high. Eleanor chuckled. "Good, you've grown sharper since—" Maya didn't respond. The old woman sipped her tea, then set the cup down with care. "I've done many things wrong in my life," she said, "but the worst was what I let happen to Ethan." Maya frowned. "Let happen?" Eleanor's eyes didn't leave the flames. "The parents died, he was 12. I was cold, detached. I thought discipline would shape him into a—" Maya sat slowly. "Why are you telling me this?" Eleanor looked at her for the first time. "Because you're the only person who never asked him to be perfect. You let him be broken, and that is the only reason he's still standing." The silence that followed felt like a confession in itself. "I came here to survive," Maya said finally, "not to save anyone." Eleanor's gaze softened. Yet you did." There was a knock. The butler entered holding a letter. "It's from Miss Lynn Carlyle," he said. Maya's stomach dropped. Eleanor waved him over. "Read the letter." Her expression soured. "It's threatening to go public," she said. "Photos, lies, fabricated timelines." "I thought Ethan had handled her." Eleanor shook her head. "Women don't love men. They love power through men. Lynn is one of them." Maya stood. "Then I'll handle it." Eleanor looked surprised. "How?" Maya's voice was quiet, steady. Reminding her that if she wants a war, I've been surviving one since the day I was born. That night, Maya found Ethan in the library. She dropped the letter in front of him. "She wants blood." He scanned it, frowned. "You won't get it." "She will," Maya said, "unless we fight smart." He looked at her. "What are you thinking?" Maya paced. "She wants attention, so we give her the opposite. Silence. Stillness. You and M, we don't flinch. We double down." "On what?" "On us." The next morning, the Langston Foundation released a joint statement. "Ethan and Maya Langston are stronger than ever. They will not be responding to baseless rumors. They remain united in marriage and mission." That evening, they walked hand in hand into the winter medical gala. Maya wore the necklace he gave her, the one that said, "Yours." Ethan didn't say much. But when cameras flashed and people whispered, he leaned in and murmured, just for her, "You make me believe in quiet power." And Maya for the first time believed she wasn't just surviving. She was becoming. Chapter 8. The Confession She Never Expected. The orchid garden was Maya's favorite place in the entire estate. At sunrise, dew clung to the petals like tiny diamonds, and the whole world smelled like something blooming after being buried. She was sitting on the bench there alone when the housekeeper approached quietly. "Miss Maya," she said, "the matriarch has requested your presence." Maya turned. "Ethan's grandmother?" And she said, "It's time." The drawing room was soaked in old money and older memories. Gold framed paintings, ivory figurines, a fire that never seemed to go out, even in summer. Eleanor Langston sat near the hearth, sharp-eyed, regal, wrapped in a wine-colored shawl she wore like a crown. "You came," she said, voice rasping but firm. "I didn't realize it was optional," Maya replied, keeping her chin high. Eleanor chuckled. "Good, you've grown sharper since—" Maya didn't respond. The old woman sipped her tea, then set the cup down with care. "I've done many things wrong in my life," she said, "but the worst was what I let happen to Ethan." Maya frowned. "Let happen?" Eleanor's eyes didn't leave the flames. "The parents died, he was 12. I was cold, detached. I thought discipline would shape him into a—" Maya sat slowly. "Why are you telling me this?" Eleanor looked at her for the first time. "Because you're the only person who never asked him to be perfect. You let him be broken, and that That is the only reason he's still standing. The silence that followed felt like a confession in itself. I came here to survive, Maya said finally, not to save anyone. Eleanor's gaze softened. Yet you did. There was a knock. The butler entered holding a letter. It's from Miss Lynn Carlyle, he said. Maya's stomach dropped. Eleanor waved him over. Read the letter. Her expression soured. It's threatening to go public, she said. Photos, lies, fabricated timelines. I thought Ethan had handled her. Eleanor shook her head. Women don't love men. They love power through men. Lynn is one of them. Maya stood. Then I'll handle it. Eleanor looked surprised. How? Maya's voice was quiet, steady. I reminding her that if she wants a war, I've been surviving one since the day I was born. That night, Maya found Ethan in the library. She dropped the letter in front of him. She wants blood. He scanned it, frowned. You won't get it. She will, Maya said, unless we fight smart. He looked at her. What are you thinking? Maya paced. She wants attention, so we give her the opposite. Silence. Stillness. You and M, we don't flinch. We double down. On what? On us. The next morning, the Langston Foundation released a joint statement. Ethan and Maya Langston are stronger than ever. They will not be responding to baseless rumors. They remain united in marriage and mission. That evening, they walked hand in hand into the winter medical gala. Maya wore the necklace he gave her, the one that said, yours. Ethan didn't say much. But when cameras flashed and people whispered, he leaned in and murmured, just for her. You make me believe in quiet power. And Maya for the first time believed she wasn't just surviving. She was becoming. Chapter 9. The gift she couldn't return. The morning came with snow. Not the loud kind, just a soft, silent dusting that made the estate glow white from the windows of Maya's room. She woke up earlier than usual, heart restless, a knot she couldn't name pulling at her chest. If dreamed of her mother. She always did this time of year. The day the machines went quiet. The day she'd held her mother's hand and whispered, I got married. You're safe now. Even though she knew her mother couldn't hear her. In the corner of the room sat the box. Ethan had left it weeks ago, wrapped in navy paper. No card, no explanation. She hadn't opened it. Something about it felt final. That morning, she unwrapped it. Inside was a dress, ivory, soft, unlike anything Maya had worn in her life. No label, no price tag, just hers. And at the bottom, a letter. You never got a real wedding. No music, no vows, no choice. This isn't a replacement. It's a beginning if you want it. Meet me at the place where we stop pretending. I'll be waiting. Maya stared at the paper until her vision blurred. Then she got dressed. No makeup, no heels, just the dress and her bare feet on the cold wood floor. She walked to the conservatory. The place where he'd first said, not all rooms are meant to feel like prisons. He was there, in a navy suit, holding the original wedding ring, the one she'd taken off, the one she thought he'd forgotten. I never returned this, he said, quiet. Why? Because you never stopped being my wife, he said. Even when you left, even when I broke everything. She swallowed. I didn't leave you, she whispered. I left who I thought you were. And now. Maya stepped forward. I see the man who gave me my mother's last months in peace, the man who let me fight without ever asking me to. He took her hand. And for the first time, they exchanged real vows. No crowd, no cameras. Just them. Later that week, Ethan was in his study when he received the call. From the hospital. He stood up before the nurse even finished the sentence. Maya had collapsed at the downtown outreach clinic. When she woke up, the The world smelled like antiseptic and snow. Ethan was at her bedside, pale, silent, terrified. "Maya," he said. "I'm okay," she whispered. "Just fainted." The doctor stepped in, clipboard in hand. "It wasn't just exhaustion," he said. "It was low blood sugar, and Ethan turned. The doctor smiled gently. "He's pregnant." Maya blinked. Ethan sat down slowly. "You're sure?" he asked. "Early stages, but everything looks healthy." Maya turned to Ethan, stunned. His hand covered hers, and for the first time since they met, he didn't look like a man protecting a contract or an empire. He looked like a man who had everything to lose, and had just been given something worth fighting for again. That night, as snow fell outside the hospital window, Maya whispered into his chest. "I'm scared." "So am I," Ethan said. This time, he added, voice breaking, "and we're scared together." Much as 10, the secret that changed everything. The Langston estate had never felt more alive. Spring unfurled itself over the grounds like a promise. Tulips along the gravel drive, sun through stained glass windows, laughter echoing from the kitchen where Maya's cooking had replaced the cold stillness of catered meals. Ethan had started walking again without the cane. Not for show. For himself. And when he walked now, Maya didn't watch to see if he'd fall. She watched because she could. They left Chicago for a week in May, to a small, quiet beach house Ethan had inherited but never visited. "I always thought I'd come here when everything was over," he told her. "Now." He looked out at the waves. "Now I think it's where everything begins." Maya was 5 months pregnant. She didn't hide her belly anymore. The world knew now. The tabloids had gotten hold of it. Headlines ran, "CEO's wife goes from poor girl to power matriarch with a baby on the way." She didn't flinch when she saw it. Neither did Ethan. They'd weathered worse. One afternoon, as the tide came in and the sky melted pink into the ocean, Ethan handed Maya a small black journal. "I found it in my father's things," he said. "I thought it was just notes from meetings, but it wasn't." She opened it. Inside were sketches of Ethan as a boy, the house they were now standing in, a swing Ethan barely remembered. But tucked in the final pages was something else. A letter. Dated 3 months before the accident. "Even? If you're reading this, then you've likely found your way back to the place that should have been your home. There are things I never told you, things about your inheritance, about the Langston name. It's not built on power, it's built on sacrifice. And one day, you'll meet someone who understands that better than I ever could. When you find her, protect her. Not with wealth, not with walls, with truth. And she'll change everything. She'll be the only thing worth fighting for." "Dad?" Maya's hands trembled as she folded the page. Ethan was watching her. "I think," he said slowly, "he meant you." And she didn't speak. She just leaned in, forehead to his. And for a long time they just breathed. Together. That night, they sat on the porch under a canopy of stars. Maya rested her head against his chest. "They still have the chair?" she asked suddenly. "Odd," he smiled faintly. "In the garage." "You should keep it," she said. "Why?" "Because it's part of how you got here." He ran his hand gently over her belly. This little one," he said, "is how we move forward." The ocean whispered. The stars blinked. And Maya thought, for someone who started out pretending, I've never known anything this real. The man she thought she married. Years later, when their daughter asked about the wedding photo, the one where her mother wore a borrowed dress and her father sat in a wheelchair, unsmiling, Maya told her the truth. "It wasn't the day we fell in love," she said. "That was the day we signed a contract." The little girl frowned. "But you're smiling now." Maya touched the child's cheek and smiled back. "Because love didn't come from the promises we made on paper. It came from everything we survived between the lines. Ethan still walked with a slight limp. Some nights, he returned to that study not to hide, but to remember. To remember who he had been. And the woman who walked in, unafraid. The woman who didn't run, even when she had every reason to. The woman who married a stranger to save her mother, and ended up saving him instead. They kept the beach house in Charleston, not as a retreat, but as a beginning. It's where their son took his first steps on warm sand. Where Maya taught their daughter to tie her shoes. Or Ethan, years later, finally said it out loud in the quiet. You gave me back my name, not the one on the estate, the one I forgot I had. Sometimes, love doesn't start with flowers or fireworks. Sometimes, it begins with silence. With a lie. With a contract meant to end. But when two people choose to stay, not because they have to, but because they see each other. Even the coldest hearts can thaw. Even a man who forgot how to walk can learn to run again, not away from the past, but toward someone who believes in him anyway. If you've ever loved someone who couldn't say it back, if you've ever stayed when every voice told you to leave, if you've ever believed that love could rewrite the story, you're not alone. Tell us in the comments. What would you do for someone you love? What does healing look like to you? Someone else might need to hear it today. And if this story touched something in you, we'll be here with another one, waiting.